Opel Vectra A, 1988-95. The first generation Vectra, known as the Vectra A, was introduced in October 1988 for the 1989 model year, as a 4-door notchback saloon, replacing the Opel Ascona C. A 5-door liftback version arrived in March 1989, and a coupe based on the Vectra, called the Calibra, was introduced in the end of that year. Both cars were designed by the Opel design chief at the time, Wayne Cherry. Vauxhall Motors, the British GM subsidiary that shared most of its models with Opel, did not use the Vectra model name until the introduction of the second generation into the United Kingdom in August 1995 to replace the Cavalier. The 1989 Vectra came in base, LS, GL, GLS, CD, and GT models. Its sister model was the third generation Cavalier. Engines ranged initially from a 75 PS, 55 kilowatts 1.4 liters to a 130 PS, 96 kilowatts 2.0 liters Family 2. The top-of-the-line Vectra 2016 volts arrived in September 1989. Its 16-valve version of the 2.0 liters engine produces 150 PS, 110 kilowatts, and was only available with a sedan bodywork, with available 4-wheel drive. The 16-valve engine also appeared in GT, GSI in some markets, models after the facelift, now mainly as a liftback. 2 4-wheel drive versions were added to the lineup in January 1989, and in September 1992, the car received a limited edition turbocharged version, with 204 PS, 150 kilowatts. In 1994, the European Turbo 4x4 version of the Vectra was used in Formula One as its safety car. Most notably, it was deployed at the San Marino Grand Prix. The 1.4-liter engine was not available in all markets, and even then, it was generally only available in basic trims, base/L in United Kingdom, LS, GL in Europe. In markets as Italy, where smaller engines were favored by the taxation system, a 1.4 GLS was also offered. With the introduction of Euro I emissions regulations, the 1.4 was replaced by a 1.6 liters with the same output for most markets. A 2.5 liters V6 engine appeared towards the later stages of the Vectra's life, developing 170 PS, 125 kilowatts, turning the car into a relaxed motorway cruiser rather than giving it sporty pretensions. There were a choice of 2 diesel engines. One was an Isuzu 1.7 liters 4E, 1 inline 4 unit, in both naturally aspirated and turbocharged form, 1686 cc, this one capable of achieving 82 PS, 60 kilowatts, and an Opel-designed 1.7 low-blow turbodiesel, 1699 cc, and naturally aspirated diesel unit, delivering up to 68 PS, 50 kilowatts, 67 horsepower. The front suspension was fully independent, with McPherson struts, pressed steel lower control arms, and an anti-roll bar. The front suspension, together with the major mechanicals, engine and transmission, is remotely mounted on a front subframe. On front-wheel drive models, the rear suspension is semi-independent, consisting of a torsion beam linked to trailing arms, with double conical coil springs and direct-acting telescopic hydraulic shock absorbers, with certain models also having an anti-roll bar. On the 4-wheel drive 4x4 and turbo models, the rear suspension is a subframe-mounted fully independent design, with semi-trailing arms, double conical coil springs, direct-acting gas-assisted telescopic shock absorbers, and an anti-roll bar. Steering gear is a rack and pinion type, manual or power-assisted, depending on model, mounted on the bulkhead, firewall, with a telescopically deformable steering column. The Vectra also received a refresh in September 1992. The range received new front grills and a black plastic strip above the rear taillamps, along with an upgrade to the structure for improved crashworthiness. Airbags became available onwards from 1993. In New Zealand, the Vectra was offered initially as an Opel between 1989 and 1994, but it wore Holden badges between 1994 and 1996 until the introduction of the Vectra B. It was not sold in Australia, where Holden instead offered a rebadged Toyota Camry called Apollo until 1997. In Japan, the Vectra and Omega were the first Opels to be distributed by Isuzu Motors Limited rather than long-standing importer Toa Motors, beginning in July 1989. In Egypt, the Opel Vectra was not introduced until 1994 through GM Egypt dealerships, and started production in the end of 1994 by GM Egypt through the beginning of 1996, with a range of 1.6 GL, 2.0 GL trim and 2.0 GLS trim and only saloon body style, boasting strong sales during this short run. This was similar to the Opel Kadett,